Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another edition of the Golden Age. This is a series of Warhammer Fantasy battle reports, and this is battle report number 52. It is a 2,500 point battle that is fought between Scream of the Emo as well as myself. Scream of the Emo is bringing House von Koss of the Vampire Counts, and I'm bringing the Garden of Nurgle, my Chaos Legion of Nurgle list. So we're throwing it down to 2,500 points for a battle line scenario. If you guys want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure. As always, let's go ahead and get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Alright, as you can see, we're playing on a 4x6 table. The scenario rules is battle line. It's standard deployment rules, standard victory conditions as always. It is the most common type of Warhammer, and it's our favorite type to play as well. So I'm deployed on the far side of the table this time, and my friend Scream of the Emo is deployed on the near side of the table. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle plan real fast. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the entire battlefield. As you can see, I'm deployed on the far side. My friend Scream of the Emo is deployed on the near side of the table. I know I'm playing against vampire counts, so I do know he has to come to me. But at the same time, I'm also Chaos Legion, so I have to go to him as well because both of our armies are really important for close combat. The thing I really got to worry about, however, is his ghouls for the most part. It's his crypt horrors on the far left-hand side as well as his crypt ghouls in the center of his army. That's pretty much the main fighters as well as the main killers of his army goes. The rest of it's pretty much like tar pit units. His corpse guard, of course, is just adding buffs. He's got his zombies I got to worry about. At the same time, though, he does have a Mortis engine as well as a Terrorgeist. The Terrorgeist on his right-hand flank with his Hex Wraiths. Luckily for me, though, he's not within range of his general to use his Hex Wraiths to march, so that part is kind of good. So I do have to worry about that a little bit. Pretty much what my plan is to hopefully try to weather the storm of what he's sending to me. I'm going to try to buff my units as much as possible before I start engaging in close combat. Pretty much what my plan is to make him do all the footwork to come to me, and then when he gets within range, I'm going to try to countercharge and then finish him off. The only problem I'm going to have to face is that my army is really kitted out for causing break tests is what it's designed for. And so pretty much what I try to do is overwhelm my opponent in close combat, and then they're forced to take a break test, and then I pursue and finish them off. That's pretty much how I've been doing it for most of my army for most of this time. But when it comes to vampire counts, though, they're kind of like demons in that they don't break. They do suffer from unstable rules, so they do lose members for every point of combat you beat them by in terms of combat resolution. But that's about it, though. So I'm gonna have to really grind through and try to destroy him, through attrition bit by bit. So that's pretty much the battle plan I'm going with on this one. Alright, so with the battle plan over with, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Over on the left-hand side for House von Koss, those are the Ravenous. It is a unit of 6 Crypt Horrors, making up the far left-hand flank. There is no champion for that unit, there's just 6 normal guys. They're pretty brutal, they got high toughness, good strength, they also got regen saves. These guys can go through units like it's nobody's business, if you're not careful. And overhead shot of the center of the battlefield, as you can see, he's got pretty much most of his armies located there. Up in the front on the left-hand side, that is the Balefire Carnival. That is a unit of 49 Crypt Ghouls with a Crypt Gas in that unit as well. Also, his general is located there as well, Marduk von Koss, the Baron of Drakenfels. He's a Strigoi Ghoul King. He's got the Dragonbane gem as well as Scabscrath, so he does have really good close combat attacks as well as the Deathstreak ability. He's also got Curse the Revenant, giving him +1 to his wounds. He's also got, I believe, Aura of Dark Majesty, so that way it's -1 to his leadership. He's really kitted out to maximize that Deathstreak ability for that army. Right in the back in the center, that is the Mortis Engine, the Calliope of Chaos. It's outfitted with the Blasphemous Tome, so he'll get +2 to all of his casting bonuses for all of his Vampire Count lore spells. Up in the center, that is Rolling Bones. That is a corpse cart that has Balefire located on that one. And the far right-hand side, that is the Walking Dead of Saint-Remy. It is a unit of 38 zombies with full command, with Standard Bearer as well as Musician. In that unit, he's got Sinister Jeffrey, that is his level 2 Necromancer. He's got a Dispel Scroll, and right next to him is Gauntfield of Carrion Crows, that is his level 4 Master Necromancer as well. And I believe he has the Book of Archon, I think is what he has, so that way he can move across the battlefield with his using Van Hels's Dance Macabre. And that pretty much makes up his center of his army. And finally, make up his far right-hand deployment. Up in the front, Vanguard at 4 12 inches are his 2 units of Hex Wraiths. That's the Masks of the Red Death and the Mask of the Black Death. Those guys are 12-inch forward. They're light cavalry, pretty deadly groups. And on the far right-hand side, that is Volkar, the Beast of Blutwald. That is a Terrorgeist. And that pretty much makes up my friend's right-hand deployment. So going for the deployment on the left-hand side for the Legion of Chaos, starting off my left-hand side, I do have a unit of 4 Nurglings. Those are the Inglorious. Those guys that use the Scout ability. They're positioned right between that Pigpen as well as the Forest on the left-hand side of the battlefield. I'm going to try to use those guys as a speed bump to try to slow down those Crypt Horrors, because if those Crypt Horrors manage to flank me on the left-hand side while his forces are engaging me in the front, it could catch my units in a pincer attack, which could be highly devastating. So I decided to kind of put them there to be sacrificed and to die. I mean, they're called the Inglorious for a reason. In the center of my army, I basically have my demons located. On the left-hand side, that is Haster, the King in Yellow, my general. He's a demon prince. He's got a Dragonbane gem, Charm Shield. He's also got the Sword of Striking. He's got a Chaos Familiar, Soul Feeder. He's also got Scaly Skin as well, so he's got a 1-up armor save. He's just kitted out for combat as well. He's got Chaos Armor, Demonic Wings, so that way he can fly. He's also level 4 Lore of Death Wizard as well. With the Chaos Familiar, it gives him another additional bonus to his channeling. He also gets another spell as well, so that's my general. He's just freaking awesome. And then right in the center, that is the Tallyman. That is a unit of 39 Plague Bearers of Nurgle with full command, and leading them is my Standard Battle Center Bearer, that is Barnabas the Scrivener. He is a Herald of Nurgle with Battle Center Bearer upgrade. He's also got the Lesser Locus of Virulence as well, so that way these guys are getting poison attacks on 5-up. And if you notice in this one, they're kind of located in a kind of a column formation. They're 8 wide and 5 deep. That does limit their killing power because they won't be able to attack with a 3rd rank, but at the same time it gives them a little bit longer lasting ability in combat, and plus it gives them maximum rank bonuses. Like I said, it's a tar pit unit, and that's what I have kitted them out to be. And on the right-hand flank of my army, I have the rest of it. Right there in the center, that is the Dustmen. There's a unit of 23 Chaos Warriors of Nurgle. They have additional hand weapons and shields, Marks of Nurgle as well, full command. And leading them, of course, is Festus the Empowered. That is the special character from the End Times rulebook. He's a level 3 Lore of Nurgle wizard. He also has the Shroudlings bound spell. He also makes all terrain dangerous terrain as well. And he also has, excuse me, he also has level 3, I mentioned that, level 3 Floor of Life. He gives my Dustmen a 5 regen as well as poison attacks as well, so that's really good. And then on the right hand side, that is my hero, the Exalted Hero. That is Horticolic Slimex. I'll mount it on Mulch. Horticolic Slimex is the Exalted Hero of Nurgle. He's got the Dragon Helm as well as the Dawnstone. He's got Chaos Armor Shield as well as a Halberd, and he's mounted on a War Shrine that is called Mulch is his name, and that's dedicated to Nurgle as well. And that guy is really powerful because of his Giver of Glory abilities. And that makes up my right hand flank of my army. So with the deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and we roll off for initiative to see who goes first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Legion of Chaos. I managed to get the initiative on this one, and as for the movement, not much movement really takes place. Like I said, my plan is to countercharge my opponent, so I'm going to make him do all the legwork by crossing the battlefield. That way I can buy myself some time to buff up my units, and then I can countercharge and destroy him that way. So everything remains pretty much where it's located at, except for one thing. That was my general. That's my Demon Prince, Haster the King in Yellow. He does a march fly move over from the left-hand side of the deployment area to the right-hand side right in front of that tower. And the reason why is because that's where Volkar, the Beast of Blutwald, is located at, as well as his Hex Wraiths. My character, Horticolic Slimex, he is kitted out for close combat, but he has no magical attacks whatsoever, aside from his Nurgle's Rot ability that he has. But that takes place only during the magic phase. So I'm going to need some magical attacks in order to deal with these Hex Wraiths because they're ethereal. And at the same time, I also want to have something to take on Volkar, the Beast of Blutwald, because that Terrorgeist can shred units in close combat as well. And so that's what I did. I moved my general over there to intercept. And here's a close-up of my Demon Prince, the King, Haster the King in Yellow, moving to the right-hand side to get ready to take on some Hex Wraiths, as well as a Terrorgeist. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And during the magic phase, as you can see here, I get the Dark Prince Thirsts off on the Reign of Chaos chart. So because of that, basically what ends up happening is you roll a d6 for every unengaged unit on the battlefield. Unfortunately for my friend Scream with the Emo, he did fail that test. So because of that, the Crypt Horrors got targeted. And what you do is you roll 3d6 and you subtract the leadership, and the difference between the two scores is how many wounds they take with no armor saves. In which case, they suffered 6 wounds. So I killed 2 Crypt Horrors right off the bat. So that part was pretty awesome. So I then tap over Haster the King in yellow, have him cast the Aspect of the Dread Knight ability. I cast the big one off, giving my Dustman Terror. And the reason why I do that is because you're going up against a Terrorgeist here in a second. That thing does cause terror, and everything else in my army pretty much causes fear. So I don't have to worry about so much with the leadership test on that one, but my Dustman they do. So I do put them on there. I put off the big one given the Terror special rule, and that's just so that way they have a better chance of surviving psychology tests in case they get charged against by the by the Hex Wraiths or against the Terrorgeist. So that took place in the magic phase. I then take my general cast Spirit Leech off on Volkar the Beast of Bluefold, and I kill that SOB with some horrible magic. I do like the Soul Quench because it goes off against the target's leadership ability. Unfortunately for him though, he's only got a leadership of 6. I think I rolled like an 11, so I put 6 wounds on him right off the bat. And just like that, the Beast of Bluefold is now dead, and that's one less Terrorgeist I gotta worry about. I then tried to cast my Shroudling spell, but my opponent Scream of the Emo managed to dispel that one, so not much came from there. However, I did have 2 dice left over with, and my opponent used up all of his dispel dice at that point, so I cast Give Her Glory off on my Horticultic Slimex, and I targeted my champion of my unit, as well as Festus, as well as my Exalted Hero. So in the end, I gave Festus +1 to his attacks, the champion's got +1 to his toughness, and Horticultic Slimex also earns +1 to his toughness as well. So a pretty successful magic phase overall. With the magic phase over with, we skip the shooting phase because I don't shoot, and there's nobody engaged in close combat, so we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the vampire counts. So this is the end of turn number 1 for the vampire counts after the move phase, and as you can see, my opponent does move forward as quickly as he possibly can. He originally declares a charge with his Crypt Horrors of the Ravenous against my Inglorious. My Nurglings, of course, fled as a result. They flew back like 12 inches, getting away from there. So because of that, my opponent had nothing else to charge against, so he fails his charge. He only moves up, I think, 4 inches is what he does with those Crypt Horrors. Meanwhile, the rest of his army, he charges in the Hex Rays of that Mask of the Black Death, charging directly into Horticultic Slimex, and the Mask of the Red Death charged directly into Haster the King in yellow. So now my right hand flank is being engaged by Hex Rays. Like I said, for my character Horticultic Slimex, he doesn't have any magical attacks, so it could be pretty difficult for him to take on these Hex Rays. He does have Nurgle's Rot, which is one of the gifts that I gave him, but that only activates in the magic phase, and it's only strength 1, so I need 6s in order to wound in this case against those Hex Rays, so that might be pretty difficult. I'm not too worried about Haster taking on those Hex Rays because he'll be able to chop those guys down no problem, and then what I'll have him do is kind of counter charge against the Mask of the Black Death on the right hand flank to help out Horticultic Slimex. The rest of Scream of the Emo's armies, they just march forward as quick as they can with the Bellfire Carnival on the left, as well as the Walking Dead Samurai to the right, and the center's Rolling Bones, and then right behind them all is the Calliope of Chaos. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. And here's a close-up of the 2 units of Hex Rays charging directly into Horticultic Slimex as well as Haster the King in yellow. It was difficult to see a little bit because these Hex Rays are kind of like an ethereal green color, so they kind of blend in with the background, and that's why I zoomed in so that way you guys can see it. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the top of the magic phase. Alright, so at the top of the magic phase, my friend Scream of the Emo forgot to activate the Dark Reliquary ability on his Mortis Engine at the beginning of the turn, so we let him do it this time because he forgot to do it. He does give +1 regen to the Crypt Horrors as well as to his General. He also gives it to the Rolling Bones as well as to the Walking Dead Samurai. Now at the same time, my friend decides to cast, what's it called? I believe it's the spell, the one that raises the dead. For some reason I just can't remember the name. Oh, Invocation to Heck is what it is. So he casts that spell off for that part. He uses his General in order to cast that spell. I was able to stop most of his other spells from getting off, but he puts it onto his Crypt Horrors, what he ended up doing on that one. And so because he cast that spell for his Crypt Horrors, it did trigger the Vigor Mortis off on the Corpse card. So because of that, everything within 12 inches got always strike first. So all of his core units right there in the center managed to get that one as well. And just like that, he also managed to bring back all of his Crypt Horrors. He has one with 2 wounds though, so that one is still partially dead, but for the most part, those Crypt Horrors are back. At the same time, I got pretty lucky. I actually got 2 6s off on the Nurgle's Rot ability against the Mask of the Black Death for Horticultic Slimex. So I managed to kill 2 of the Hex Rays, which is pretty awesome. So with the magic phase over with, we skip shooting because Scream of the Emo is not within range of any of his shooting abilities, and we go directly to close combat. And as you can see in this picture, Haster had no problem just taking out those Hex Wraiths. The combination of his close combat attacks as well as his Thunder Stout was enough to put all the pain on those guys. Managed to kill every single member of the Mask of the Red Death. Horticulus Slimex, of course, can't do anything against the Hex Wraiths because he's not has any magical attacks, so he can't do anything. But I got pretty lucky. The Hex Wraiths couldn't hurt Horticulus Slimex either. I think only one managed to hit, but he failed his wound roll, so because of that, he's perfectly fine. I do turn Haster the King of Yellow because I do plan on charging him directly into the right-hand flank of the Mask of the Black Death and manage to finish off those last 3 Hex Wraiths. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the top at turn number 2 for the Legion of Chaos. Alright, so this is the top at turn number 2 for the Legion of Chaos. This photo is taken after the movement phase, and as you can see, I don't do very much movement at all. The only thing I do, I charge in Haster the King in Yellow into the Mask of the Black Death, charging on the right hand flank, getting a nice pincer attack against Horticulus Slimex. At the same time, I also manage to rally my Nurglings. They turn 180 to take position on my left hand flank, and that's pretty much about it for that one. Here's a close-up of my Inglorious turning 180, so that way they can post to protect my left-hand flank of my army. And here's a close-up of Haster the King in Yellow charging directly into the right-hand flank of the Mask of the Black Death. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And the first spell I do cast with Haster is Enfeebling Foe. I cast the big one off to target all enemy units within 24 inches. So because I do manage to get that spell off, that means that the Corpse Cart as well as the Walking Dead Samurai May do have -1 toughness. Same thing with the Hex Wraiths. I cast that spell just because I wanted to weaken these guys up a little bit. What I was actually trying to do is draw my opponent's Dispel dice. Is what I was really trying to do, so that way I can cast off some other spells of mine for my Lord Nurgle to buff on my units. And that's why I went with the big one, hoping that he would think I was going to try to commit to it, so he also managed to do that as well. But unfortunately for my opponent, though, I did manage to get that spell off. And the reason why I was able to get that spell off is because I did miscast 6 on that part.
Klaatu, Veranda,
which pretty much put a wound onto my generals, all it really did, and also I lost all the rest of my magic dice for the magic phase. I have no more power dice in order to cast spells, so that part was quite tragic. So with the magic phase over with, we skip the shooting phase because homie don't play that, and we go directly to the combat phase. And as you can see in this photo, Haster the King of Yellow had no problem finishing off the rest of the Mask of the Black Death, so I managed to kill those Hex Wraiths to a man, and I do a quick combat reposition for himself so that way he can start charging to the right-hand flank of the House Von Koss. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Vampire Counts. So that's directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Vampire Counts, and this photo is taken after the movement phase. This time he doesn't charge forward, he just kind of moves up his forces, just kind of like gingerly is what he pretty much does. First thing he does, he moves up his, he does march up his Critors, he moves them up their full 12 inches, so that way on the far left hand side, aiming straight down the barrel between the Pigpen and the Forest, directly towards my Inglorious. He then moves the rest of his army just their normal moon allowance, I think. Yeah, I think he only moves them like 5 inches, no, he moves them up their normal 4 inches, what he does. Just occupying the space between the two forests. He's using the forest in order to protect his flanks, which is a pretty smart move at that point. Up in the front, he's got his the Balefire Carnival, the Rolling Bones, the Walking Dead Samurai May, as well as the Calliope of Chaos, all positioned between those two forests, and he's just standing his ground, getting ready to receive the charge. I think it's because he knows I'm going to countercharge him real quick, so he wanted to make sure that he was close enough to where he could charge if he needed to, but at the same time, just a little bit further away, so that way I could possibly fill some charge rolls against him. And that pretty much makes up his move phase on this one. So during the magic phase, he does try to cast Van Hell's Dance Macabre off once again, the bubble version of it, so that way all of his units within 12 inches can move forward. I do manage to dispel that dice, so I think he did that just to grab out some of my dispel dice for my power pool. He does, however, manage to get off a couple more spells off, though. He puts off Invocation of Nehek with his level 4 wizard, so because of that, Gauntfield of Carrion Crows managed to bring back 7 more zombies, adding it to the Walking Dead of Samurai May. He also ends up casting Vigor, which one is it? Not Hellish Vigor, that's the spell. That's the one that does the large bubble one as well, so that way all of his units within 12 inches has reroll to wound, which is pretty good because he's going to need that for close combat as well. Now because he cast those buff spells in the area, it does trigger Vigor Mortis again, just like last time the Relic Week also goes off, so everybody has +1 to the regen saves, everyone has Wily Strike first, so things are not looking very good that way. And the very last spell that he casts is Invocation to Heck with his general, Marduk Von Koss. He manages to heal up the criticals to the left-hand side back to their maximum health. And that pretty much makes up the magic phase on this one. So with magic phase over with, we go directly to the shooting phase. And in the shooting phase, he managed to kill, I believe, 6. He managed to kill 6 of my Plague Bearers as well, using the Death Streak ability from Marduk Von Koss. It was because of a combination of that Dark Aura of Dark Majesty, as well as the additional wound he gets from Curse the Revenant. That was enough to put the wounds on my guys, so that part was kind of rough, because I don't get any armor saves. Well, I don't have any armor anyways with my Plague Bearers, but they only have a 5 ward save, so I lost quite a bit of guys on that one. So with nothing else, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for Legion of Chaos, and I decided to charge. This is my whole entire plan, was to make my opponent come to me, so that way I got a counter charge, and that's exactly what I did. So the first thing I did is I charged in my Inglorious to the left-hand side, so that way they can bog down the Ravenous on the left-hand side, and they make their charge very successful on that one. I also sent in my Talon directly into the Balefront Carnival, so that way I can occupy those Crypt Ghouls, because those guys are pretty deadly in close combat, so they're all engaged. At the same time, I also charged in the Dustman directly into the front of the Walking Dead of San Reme, and charged in Horticulix Slimex, as well as Haster the King Yellow directly into the right-hand flank of his zombies, so that way I can start putting those guys down. Hopefully with the amount of damage I cause with my 2 characters, as well as my Dustman, as well as combat res, I could finish off that unit of zombies and just be done with it. And that way I can sweep across the battlefield to the right-hand side and catch those Crypt Ghouls in a pincer, because I'm not so much afraid of the corpse cart or so much of the Calliope of Chaos, but you know, those zombies though I need to get through quick, otherwise I'll just be stuck there for all eternity. So here's a close-up of my Inglorious charging directly into the Ravenous and holding those Crypt Horrors down for a turn or 2. And here's a close-up of my Tallyman charging directly into the Balefire Carnival, engaging those guys into close combat. And finally, here's a close-up of my my Demon Prince, as well as my Exalted Hero and my Chaos Warriors charging directly into the right-hand flank against the Walking Dead of San Reme. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And once again, the magic phase, the Dark Prince Thirst hits again. I managed to roll 8 for the power dice on this one. So we go through all the d6s and we actually hit the Mortis engine on this one. So because of that, we rolled for the difference. I think I managed to get 7 wounds, I think it was, or was it 6 wounds? I forgot how many it was, but it was enough to pop the Calliope of Chaos. So originally, I was super excited about that because I was like, yeah, no more Mortis engine to worry about. But then I realized with the Dark Reliquary, when it dies, it does explode, causing all kinds of problems for everybody around it. Unfortunately for me though, it did cause some wounds. It caused 2 wounds on Horticulix Slimex as well as Mulch, as also 2 wounds on Haster the King in Yellow. I also managed to kill a couple of zombies from the Walking Dead San Reme, and also managed to kill 2 Crypt Ghouls as well. The corpse cart though was relatively untouched by that explosion that went off when that thing exploded, so that part was kind of sad. I'm kind of sad because I took 2 wounds onto my characters. Now if you're wondering why Horticulix Slimex isn't dead, because even though he's a hero he only has 2 wounds, it's because of the way my friends and I play. If they're mounted on a chariot or a war beast, some sort like that, we combine totals. What we do, we take the wounds and we combine them. So what we do for that one, just to make them last a little bit longer, because you know that's the way my friends and I roll. So if you're wondering why Horticulix Slimex is still alive, that is why. So as you can see here, a lot of damage throughout because that thing exploded, but them's the break, I suppose. So during the magic phase, I cast Stream of Corruption off with my character Festus the Leech Lord in order to whittle down these zombies a little bit, and managed to kill 6 more of the zombies using Stream of Corruption. So that part was kind of cool. However, to get that spell off, though, I did miss cast 6 on that one.
Klaatu, Veranda.
So the big giant explosive template does go off. It centers this blast directly on top of Festus the Leech Lord and manages to hit 6 of my Dustmen as well, which is pretty sad. And after the magical explosion clears and the dust clears as well, I did lose 4 of my Dustmen as well as the rest of my power dice for my magic phase, so that part was kind of sad as well. So with the magic phase over with, we skip the shooting phase and we go directly to close combat. And as you can see in this photo, I just chopped through these zombies like it was nobody's business. I can't remember how many I think I killed. I think I killed like 20. Yeah, I killed 26. Yeah, I killed 26 zombies between the thunder stomps from my general, the attacks that he gets, as well as attacks from Horticulix Slimex, as well as Mulch, and the combined attacks from all my Dustmen and Festus the Leech Lord. I just chopped through those guys like it was nobody's business, killing 26 of those guys. When you combine the fact that I have ranks in the front, standard bearers in the front as well, and I'm also getting on the flank on 2 different units attacking on the flank, the combat resolution alone just wiped out the rest of the unit. I think it was more, the difference was more in points with wounds of all the characters, since necromancers are also undead. They also suffer the same thing, so that just vaporizes the entire unit of the Walking Dead of San Reme. And because Horticulix Slimex as well as Haster the King Yellow charge forward, they get to overrun. They go directly to the right-hand flank of the corpse cart. So because that Rolling Bones is now engaged on the flank by 2 of my characters. I do a quick combat reform with my Dustmen, put them into a column formation to the right-hand side so that they can charge on the flank if they have to into the Crypt Ghouls there right in front. And at the same time, I also managed to soul feeder 2 wounds and heal up Haster the King in Yellow, which is pretty awesome as well. And now we're going to talk about the combat between my Dustmen as well as those Crypt Ghouls. Combat between 50 Crypt Ghouls against 40 Plague Bearers of Nurgle went entirely his way, for the most part, in my opinion. He managed to kill, I think, what was it, 4, 7... 12. Yeah, he killed 12 of my plague bearers. Just wiped him out with poisonous attacks and everything from the claws that his crypt ghouls had. These guys are fighting in a horde formation, so they get 30 fighters to go in, so over 40 attacks, which is from his crypt ghouls alone. And he also has the attacks from his general, who's armed with Scabsgrath, who has a flaming attacks as well as poison. And he's also Kid Out for Kill. He's got the Frenzy as well as Eternal Hatred as well, so all kinds of stuff. I only managed to kill 7 of his crypt ghouls in response to that. So luckily for me, though, I am paying a Chaos Legion, so Nurgle is in Descendants, so I don't have to worry about losing my guys from instability rolls. So that was the only thing that kind of saved me on this part. And having him always strike first was also pretty rough too, because I believe, yeah, if they equal or more to my initiative, they get to reroll misses as well. So that was pretty brutal. Needless to say, I lost combat pretty bad. However, I do a quick combat reform real fast afterwards, putting my my tallyman into a column formation, so that way they have more rank bonuses to strike against the crit ghouls, and at the same time it allows me to have some room so that way I can charge in my dustman if I need to directly into the front, gouging him in close combat as well. And close combat between my Inglorious as well as the Critors of the Ravenous. It was actually kind of, I was surprised. My opponent kind of flubbed his rolls, I think, for the most part. He did manage to kill one base of Nurglings and put a floating wound on another one, and I did manage to put one wound onto one of his Critors, but that was pretty much about it. It should have been much worse in my opinion, because Crit Ghoul Horrors are really good at close combat, but unfortunately my friend just kind of failed his rolls on that one. So for the most part, my Nurglings are still standing there, and I get to hold up these Critors for another round, which is always a good thing. So with the combat phase over with, we go directly to the bottom of the turn for the vampire counts. Alright, so that takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 3 for the vampire counts, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and as you can see, nothing moves, and that's because everything is engaged in close combat. He has nothing he can move at this point. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. I apologize, you skipped the magic phase because he rolled snake eyes on his magic phase. That's what ended up happening. So he doesn't get magic, but he does get shooting, and he ends up killing 4 more of my tallymen with his Death Shriek ability from his general. So that part was pretty rough as well. So, you know, Death Shriek, man, that's something else on a whole nother level. So with shooting, we go directly into close combat. As you can see in this picture, Haster the King in yellow as well as Horticulus Slimax had no problem stomping that the Rolling Bones back to his basic elements, so because of that, the corpse guard is now dead. And I set them up for a nice little flank charge from my general, as well as the carriage at the flank of the Balefire Carnival, and opens at the front being charged up against with my Dustman. So that part was kind of cool. Alright, so in this battle report, for this part here with the close combat, he does issue a challenge with his general. I do accept it with Barnabas the Scrivener. His general, of course, is atomized Barnabas the Scrivener, no problem whatsoever. The rest of the combat actually ended up being pretty one-sided at this point. The crypt ghouls pretty much flowed their rolls for the most part, and because of that, I only lost one. I just only lost my general, my plague bearer. I'm sorry, my Battle Center Bearer. I'm all kinds of words today. So my Battle Center Bearer is dead, so that part's kind of sad. But the fact is, my opponent wasn't able to cause any more injuries to me. I think it's because I limited the amount of attacks he actually gets against them. My Plague Bearers, however, did pretty good. They actually end up killing 7 of the crypt ghouls as well. But it doesn't really matter, though, because neither group has to take break tests, because both groups are unbreakable, so that's pretty much how it ends up happening for that combat phase. And finally, over here on the left-hand flank, the fight between my Inglorious as well as the Crypt Horrors was actually surprising. The Crypt Horrors this time kind of stepped up and killed 2 more bases of my Nurglings, so that part was kind of sad. And I also managed to kill 1 Crypt Horror as well, so that was kind of cool. But at the same time, though, I did pretty much lose the combat, but I managed to survive that one. But it's kind of nice, because now I get to occupy these guys for another turn of combat, because my Nurglings have 1 base still left engaged with these Crypt Horrors. So these guys are doing exactly what they're designed to do, being a speed bump. So with that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Chaos Legion. Alright, so that takes directly to the top of turn number 4 for the Legion Nurgle, and I decided to charge forward in. The first thing I do is I actually declare a charge with my general. Haster the King flies across the battlefield right into the right-hand flank of the Crypt Horrors of the Ravenous. So I managed to take those guys on and hopefully occupy them so that way they can't really get involved. After that, I then charge in Horticulus Slimax into the left-hand flank, the right-hand flank of the Balefire Carnival, so he goes in and charges in directly, and then because of that, it frees a space for my Dustman to wheel in, and they charge forward directly into the Balefire Carnival as well. So now the Balefire Carnival is fighting against my Dustman, my Tallyman, as well as Horticulus Slimax, as well as Mulch. And that pretty much makes the move phase on this one. During the magic phase, not much really happened because my opponent was unable to cast, my opponent was able to dispel most of my dice. However, I did get the Shroudlings ability off, so everything within 12 inches of my main battle lines gets -2 to hit against for my opponent because they're being protected by the Garden of Nurgle. So that part was kind of cool. So with the magic phase over with, we skip the shooting phase and we go directly to combat. And the combat phase, my Inglorious were killed to a man, but I did manage to kill one of the crypt ghouls, crypt horrors with my general. Needless to say though, my opponent won this one, so because of that, he does do a combat reform real quick to square off against my general, but that's perfectly fine though because my general is unbreakable, and you know, he's also keyed out to kill as well, so that part was kind of cool. Meanwhile, over here in the right-hand flank, I have to declare a challenge with Horticola Slamix because I have the god's demands I do so. So I issue out a challenge, and my opponent actually answered with his general. So because of that, my character, Horticola Slamix, as well as Marduk von Koss, they do engage in close combat because they're fighting a challenge against one another. And in the end, he managed to put one wound on me, but I managed to kill his character flat out. So that part was pretty cool as well. I think I pretty much caused 3 wounds with Horticola Slamix. I think the last one was put on by my War Shrine with the Shrine Bearer. So because of that, his general is dead. And so because of that, he's got to start taking instability tests for all of his units because the last wizard for this unit is gone. And as it's this point of the battle report, my friend decides to call it quits at this point because he realized all he has left is units and he's going to start losing guys who crumble checks pretty fast. So as you can see here it is, the end of the table. Chaos Legion managed to win this one again, so that part was kind of cool as well. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this battle report is now officially over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for Warhammer the Golden Age, Warhammer Fantasy Battle Fort number 52, and it was a victory for yours truly. So let's go and talk about some of the factors that led to that. For my losses, the only unit I lost were the Inglorious. Meanwhile, Screaming the Emo lost Marduk von Koss, Gauntfield of Carrying Crows, Sinister Jeffrey, the Librarian of Curses, the Balefire Carnival, the Walking Dead of San Reme, Rolling Bones, Mask of the Black Death, Mask of the Red Death, as well as the Calliope of Chaos. And the only reason why I won this battle report is because of luck for the most part, and this was due to Scream of the Emo's low rolls on his magic phases. The reason why is because normally his character Gauntfield of Carrying Crows is a level 4 Necromancer. He gets +3 to cast due to a combination of the Blasphemous Tome from the Calliope of Chaos as well as the Book of Asher. So we're usually talking about scores of 7 up whenever he casts it, so he's really powerful on that one. But unfortunately, he just kept on rolling a bunch of 1s and 2s for his magic phase. I was able to stop most of his buff spells, so by stopping his magic, I was able to take his army apart bit by bit, so it's just really low dice rolls for his magic phases for the most part. Once again, pincer attacking his zombies, the Walking Dead San Reme, was the deciding factor on this battle report. It allowed me to concentrate my force against his crypt ghouls as well as his general, because that way I could deploy my my warriors to the front of his crypt ghouls. I also allowed my character Horticola Slamix to charge the right hand flank of the crypt ghouls and allow my general to engage the crypt horrors as well. So that was kind of nice on this one. Also, this one, my Inglorious were also very glorious, quote unquote, this battle report, and the reason why is because they held up the Ravenous for 2 rounds of combat. So they died to the man, they did, but they died well for Papa Nurgle, and I'm kind of proud of them because they were able to hold their own for a long time. As always, this was a very fun game against an awesome opponent, and I'm looking forward to the rematch. So that's good to do for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is appreciated as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all latest and greatest news about our hobby news. That's a good deal for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.